Wait, did you say your leading intro?
Alright, yo, welcome to the Ryzen Esports Twitch channel. We have quite a small, minor announcement. Apparently, Team 21 has FF'd this season. We are joined by Desrux and Joshi. Sup, guys?
Yeah.
Hey, how's it going, Joe?
Reactions?
Yeah, so congratulations to Full Spectrum. They continue their perfect run on the season, improving to at least 4-0 and possibly 5-0, since these two teams are supposed to play 2 best-of-3s today. So congratulations on their win, but that means we're gonna have to bring you an entirely different match coming up very soon.
And I'm quite disappointed about that. I was very excited for that matchup. I thought it would have been a fun one. Full Spectrum, they go very they work along the lines of the meta, while T21 tend to go for comfort. They had that whole tank synergy going on in the top lane and jungle, and I thought it would have been a fun thing to see, especially with Maokai's recent buffs, but fortunately we can't get into that. We're gonna have to get into a different game.
Yeah, we'll see what's coming up fairly soon. We still have plenty more games here going on at Risen, and
just quickly, apparently Young Ben is in blue side, and he sent this link. You know, he's warming up, he's watching his cat dog videos, you know. I guess that's Young Ben's moment today. I mean, he was pretty, feisty about this one. I mean, he spammed the chat with it, so, you know, hey, team's warming up, bro. Hey, let's go.
Yay! Yeah, I actually recognize a couple of these players coming in. Youngden and Kim Down, both players with UCI Esports last season, and they work as a fantastic duo in the bot lane as the AD carry and support, and we'll see what they end up bringing to the table today, since it's been a while since I've seen Kim Down play. Last time I saw him was actually during his high school league.
It's been a while since I've seen Youngbin play, meanwhile, as well, and last time I've heard pretty bad things with some of the synergies of going on with his bot laners, so I'm glad to hear that there's some better information going on now that he has a new support.
Yeah, now that they have an opportunity to rebrand everything, we'll see what ends up happening, because the UCI squad has seen a lot of changes over the last couple of months. Of note, their jungler, I'm Avi, has recently announced that they will no longer be playing for the team, as they instead are going to be focused on scouting grounds, trying to find an offer from an academy or LCS team coming up here very soon. And of course, you get to see him playing at scouting grounds, just as we previously mentioned, which is going on here. Has it already started? I don't believe it started yet, has it?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I've been a little bit distracted by Worlds, to be honest.
Hey, same. Anyway, we actually are getting quite an update right now. Lucky Crunker team will be blue side. First Blood Crusade will be red side. So that's the game we are broadcasting today. I'll pull up the actual players who are playing today in about 3 minutes and 30 seconds.
Okay,
I like these team names.
Yeah, we're already getting into it with the team names. We don't have much in terms of players, so let's just go off team names, Josh. I think that's the best thing. Lucky Crunker team.
Pretty valuable. Trying to think, like, it makes me think of the Emperor's New Groove, honestly, more than anything. Lucky Crunker.
Yeah, okay, I see it.
Yeah. That's Kronk, isn't it? Kronk?
Yeah, it's Kronk. No. Yeah.
It's close. It's good enough.
The Lucky Cronkers, apparently we're calling them. And then the First Blood Crusade. I like the name already. Anything that has to do with Crusades and First Bloods, why not?
Let's take a look. I'm gonna take a look at.
Hey, wait, I know this person.
Hey, Joshi, the robot coming back?
It is.
I don't know. I don't know why. It's only his mic that scuffs. I don't know. Hey, shall we drop the audio quality a little bit?
Your channel was edited.
All right, internet.
All right, testing. Hopefully we're back, and hopefully we won't have any more issues with it. I'm taking a look at some of our players today. We have. Oh, I recognize one of them. Always plan ahead, except he's missing the D, so it's always plan ahead. We'll be playing for us.
Where are you getting this from? Where are
you? Got to go to the Risen Champions League info dump.
Oh.
Come on.
I feel like this is about to be a plug right now.
And
you can find that.
I mean, if somebody wants me to plug this in the chat,
Yeah.
there's definitely an option for that. But
And
there
talk
you
about your
got
Skillshare
the
sponsorship on top of it.
woohoo Lucky Crunker team with Always Plan Ahia, Bow Eater, Ken V2, Ugandan Royalty, Cutie NG, and Pug Corgi Shiba on the one hand, and FBC First Blood Crusade with Blast One, Rin, Kim Down, Dementia, Youngbin playing as Paradigm 7, CG Merlin, Tibbs, and Spooky.
Yeah, and let's see what we really got going with that, because I definitely want to see how these teams have been stacking up so far in the regular season. You know, when we hear about these familiar names, they're familiar for a reason. Usually we see consistent performances out of them, so starting off with the First Blood Crusade, or FBC, they like to be known, they're actually middle of the pack team, just going with a 2-2 record right now.
They're looking to take down the undefeated, what I'm assuming is the correct team, the Lucky Crunkers, who are currently 4-0 on the season. And the last time that these guys actually played off against each other was, I believe, it would have been in week 2, where they were actually the featured matchup, and Lucky Crunkers did take it down 2-0 due to an unfortunate forfeit.
Sorry, just to quickly butt in here. The stats team is requesting, since you have the sheets pulled up, is what are these guys' current records on the league today?
Yeah, so we got the Lucky Crunkers are currently 4-0, and First Blood Crusade are 2-2.
Okay, stats team has been updated. Thank you.
Perfect. Yeah.
Shout out to our stats team.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at the Risen Champions League so far, just like the way that seeding normally makes this all shake out, you generally will have one team that's looking rather dominant in their own division, and so just going across, we are looking at Full Spectrum in Division 1, who did just get the double forfeit today, currently sitting at 5-0, NCSU 3-0 in their division, Lucky Crunkers 4-0, but Division 4 is actually a much closer situation where OZ and VT both currently sitting at 3-1 as they try and make sure that they have an opportunity to get to the very end and actually make their way to playoffs.
Yeah, and I mean, we're in week 5 right now. Only today and next week Sunday are the final 2 series that you can play. Reschedules aside, that is. So this really is the sprint for playoffs. Really is those last teams just trying to scrape up whatever wins they can, especially if you're middle of the pack like First Blood Crusaders are, to be able to break into playoffs and, yeah, hopefully get a bye or two. If not, then just fight your way up the bracket.
Yeah, just looking at the last time these guys played up against each other, it's definitely been interesting to see how they've gone. But Virginia Tech and Ozone last played each other at some point, I promise. That was in week 3, where Ozone ended up taking it down 2-0. And it looks like they'll be playing again in week number 6, the last week that they have before going into playoffs. So they don't have a whole lot of time, and if we can see a turnaround of Virginia Tech take it down, they'll have an opportunity to make it into playoffs as the first seed out of their division rather than as the second, and having an easier way to the finals of the playoffs is always so important.
Yeah, it'll always feel good to get that easy route because it gives you plenty of time to be able to scout the opposition. That's one of the biggest things about it, being able to watch what the other teams are doing, see how the own personal meta is shaping up, and be able to pick and ban according to what you've seen off of these streams. So definitely want to pick up those last wins, but getting into this now, still stalling out for a little bit more time. Crunker versus First Blood Crusaders is under the works and shall be underway in just a moment as we can finally see a lot of these player names of the teams on the stream right now.
Yeah, so just a quick update. Teams are getting ready. They're going through their mental warm-up. We have a couple of name updates, actually. Some of the teams are shifting the rosters from what I got sent. So, not the real Philip is top lane. Ken V1 is in jungle. Always Plan Ahead, without the D, is mid lane. Brandon Chowie is bot lane. And QTNG is in that support lane.
Gotcha. Thank you for the update, Joe. Is there any changes to the First Blood Crusade lineup that we have information on already?
Yeah, actually. Pibbs is on the top lane. Infectrix is in the jungle. Rinny in that mid lane. Young Bin in that bot lane and Kim down in that support lane.
Well, there you have it.
As
Should be
expected
good.
as can be.
Should be good. Do you have any warm-ups you like to do, Mr. before you actually get into the cast? I know last time
no.
we were doing this together, you had a couple like rap bars you were trying to spit.
I have a few things I do personally. So there's the actual music warm-ups where you actually run scales on a piano and like and all that stuff, doing different vowels to get your voice and throat used to it. There's the play-by-play one where I read a poem extremely fast. It has a lot of rhyming words in it to see if I trip over them. And
Wait, is that the one
those
that
are
I
the
sent
two
you?
main ones. Hyper actually sent me that. Hypertension.
Oh, okay, yeah.
God,
There's a lot of
rest
good
in
ones.
peace, Hyper. But
He's
especially
not
as
dead.
of lately. Oh, he might as
He's
well
still
be.
kicking around. Oh man.
What about you,
yeah.
Josh? What about you?
I mean, there's the one that I sent to a couple of people a while back. It's a kind of a poem about the English language, and it's the thing that I really like about it is one, you got to try and say it fast in order to get your tongue working as quickly as possible. But the other thing is it makes you slow down and think at the same time because it's got a lot of words that you have to read in different ways that are spelled the same, but you have to pronounce them differently based on what's going on. So make sure that you keep yourself on your toes as you're running through it. And then, I don't have to extend my voice to the deep lows or the really high highs like you often have to. So I'm a little bit less worried about that during the cast. But still, something I should probably do for simply the value's sake.
Yeah.
And
No, I know that because the poem I use has a lot of that kind of trippy language, like only high peaks hoard, Aragon torn at the door, no sound in the walls of the halls where falls the tread of the feet of the dead to the ground, no boom, but the sound of a waterfall like doom, something like that off the top of my head. But it's just constantly try to constantly get the rhyming word, figuring out like not stumbling over the first consonant of it. It's tricky.
Yeah. Yeah, let's see if I can find the... Yeah, so here's just like a couple simple things. And this doesn't work quite as well when spoken as it makes a lot of sense when written. Or it's more interesting to look at when written. It's like the bandage was wound around the wound. The farm was used to produce produce. The dump was so full that it had to refuse more refuse. We must polish the Polish furniture. He could lead if he would get the lead out. Right? So there's just like all these different words that you have to use in different ways all at the same time. Just like keeping it all concise and making sure you use the right version of the word at the right time. And it also, if you use these kind of weird things, I feel like it helps with your vocabulary. You try and reduce the number of crutch words.
Yeah, I feel that. I like it.
Hey, you should send it over, bro. Hey, I'll give it a whack.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah?
This is no longer a cast, by the way. This is a podcast.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, we did have the FF earlier, so we gotta, create a little bit of content while these new teams get set up for broadcast.
Alright,
And speaking of, anyone see that UFC yesterday?
UFC?
Yeah.
I was watching Worlds yesterday, bro.
They
I
got
saw...
they got a pretty good joke with that. They had a match for the baddest mother effer title, like actually a title for it, and it ended on a doctor stoppage, which feels like completely counterintuitive to the title supposed to mean.
I mean, if you're one bad MFer, then you should be able to beat up anybody who is trying to be a bad MFer, I think it's pretty good. I think it's pretty in tune with what we're looking at.
No, screw
Also, Joe, I
doctors.
just sent it
I'm
to
no
you
longer getting my
over on Discord.
vaccinations.
I know I saw some headlines in r/politics about the UFC yesterday. Was interesting enough.
Oh, right, because president was there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
President was there. He had a reception, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But otherwise, nah.
He was at the World Series too.
Like,
Got a similar reception.
true. Yeah, exactly. But I know you've been really into like UFC and WWE for a while. So is there anything big in that world that the rest of us need to know about?
Not really. The last big thing just really dropped, which is the Diaz versus Masvidal fight over in UFC. WWE is just that's a gamble. Either it's good or it's bloody terrible. Yeah. In any
That's
case,
the life.
you just watch Worlds. At least when you're disappointed by NA, you're already expecting that disappointment.
Yeah. We'll get there someday. It's coming up very soon, right?
Dude.
Oh, what do you think about the announcement about players getting to play or stream their games in Tournament Realm?
Yo, actually, I got something to say about this.
Here we go.
Hot takes.
Before that got announced, 8 hours before that got announced, I actually had a dream about it, honestly. I was in my dream, some dude like asked me, yo, can I stream this Tournament Realm game? I was like, hey, Riot doesn't allow that. Hey, woke up, loaded up Reddit. I was like, oh, damn. Hey, they allow Tournament Realm streams. I mean, honestly, it's good. I mean, we get to see the teams battle it out. It's only, like, the ping advantage is only handy on NA. I played on Tournament Realm. The ping's pretty much the same in Europe. But in NA, if you are living on that West Coast, hey, a lot better.
Oh, yeah, man. The difference for somebody who's currently living in LA right now is you go from, like, 60 to 70 ping to, like, 7. It's a world of difference. It's insane.
Yeah, tell me about it. Before they actually moved the servers over, that was my actual ping. It used to be 7. 7 or 8.
Dang. I was in
like
Seattle.
The highest
so
it would get was 14.
Man, I'm actually like super jealous. I remember it used to be like when I was in Seattle, we would get about 19.
Oh, damn. Hey, that 19 ping, I'm playing on 39.
Yeah, I mean that was the best it's ever been, right? We're like 60 to 70 right now in LA, which feels so rough. Yeah,
It actually makes a world of difference.
it does. You know,
Going
you can
from
still
7 to 7,
better than it.
It's strange.
I know people who are playing like across servers and they get like 200 ping or whatnot, and they're still managed to get like grandmasters and all that kind of crazy stuff. So don't let it discourage you. Your ping is not holding you back.
No, Josh, I need something to blame.
Just blame your teammates.
It was lag.
Way easier.
All along.
No, but you're a perfect player, Eric.
Yes.
Right,
I'm capable of no wrong.
Capable of absolutely.
When I dived
it's
into
all
5
the-
people as Lee Sin going full lethality and did that inset kick, but did it the complete wrong way, it's my team's fault they didn't follow me up.
Yeah, right. Team question mark ping them as I start to go back to base.
Yeah, so what if I kick the ADC away towards his team? Now he can't hit as much, right? Yeah, less range.
No joke. That's what happened like all throughout Worlds. It felt like if you were watching it all, just like watching, I think it was Yanko's just zone faker out. Oh, but you haven't seen it yet. Ah, Mr. Beltran, what are you doing?
Mr. Howard.
There's Worlds to watch. You're watching UFC.
Wait. Are we actually? Oh, there's a timer now. Nice.
Ooh, I like timers.
Yeah, means we might be getting into action soon.
Hopefully.
Hopefully,
We're out of the draft done, Joe.
What is that?
Draft? Oh,
yeah.
Draft.
Well, I don't really like to disclose that the draft has been done, but yes.
Oh yeah.
Josh,
Yeah.
what the hell?
Hey, he's giving away my secrets,
I'm all
bro.
about the transparency
No.
of this universe.
Hey, as soon as the
file
countdown
my-
hits 0, we'll I'll go through champ select with you guys. Reason
Exciting.
being is, let's just say I accidentally scuffed it up because the stream was kind of super glued together last minute.
It's all right.
I mean,
it's
if
just
the other
my
teams played,
FOIA.
it would have been fine. But fortunately, we had that FP hands.
Yeah, it happens.
Just angrily shake our fist at Team 21 as we get into this matchup.
Well, do you have any predictions as you go into this game effectively blind with all of the
So-
prep work that we put into it?
Turrets are gonna go
Completely
down.
Ooh.
A Nexus will explode.
Ooh.
Red or blue? That is the question. The answer. I don't know. I can't make this any more dramatic.
Hey, let's go LKT, baby. Hey, they got lucky in the name. They're gonna win this. That's my prediction.
Yeah. So does First Blood Crusade just get First Blood every game and then lose anyway?
Yep.
All right. Well, there we go. You got the predictions coming out already.
If you have that name, I expect to see an actual crusade go on. I want like all their members going into the jungle and trying to find that first blood as best as they can to take it back to the Holy Land.
All right, guys, we are jumping into Champion Select. How many fans left, bro?
Yay, studio audience.
There you
Finally
go.
into it. Thank goodness. Band's already going out. Renekton, Akali, Pantheon. Brilliant Soul, all taken off the map.
Yeah, Reliant Soul, interesting ever since they changed his W so that you have a timer on when you get the expansion instead of just being able to have it permanently on as long as you have mana. So it is becoming a little bit more popular since it plays a little bit more like traditional mages for what a lot of people are used to. And I know Always Plan Ahead has always been really fond of the champion historically, but the Kled going to be the first pick coming out. It's been interesting. We saw this as a counter pick to Renekton before, so I'm surprised that it's coming out this early.
Yeah, they're just having it for the sake of the fight and the sake of the aggression going over in the top lane. The response will be Mordekaiser that's being hovered for the time being.
Yeah, Mordekaiser got locked in, you know, riot code, not mine. Anyway, so jumping over to the blue side, they actually locked in Lee Sin.
No
Instead
way.
of Kled or in addition to Kled?
Well, the Kled is also locked in, yes.
Okay.
The currently on screen is correct. There we go. Hey. All right, give it 2 seconds for you guys.
Yay! We did it! Alright, interesting. So we do have the Lee Sin and the Jarvan going at it. Now, at Worlds, we've been seeing a huge priority on Renekton and Ryze as the two big solo laners that you can flex around between different lanes. Coming in here, it's a little bit surprising to me that First Blood Crusade gets to pick up Ryze so late into the draft, and instead Lucky Crunkers have been focusing on what is probably a support Galio, but not necessarily guaranteed to be that way.
Yeah. They have a way. They can flex their way around a little bit if you are lucky, but the second half of this draft is where it's going to get critical because now the bot lanes have to show up, and this is where you really got to respond to the bot lane of First Blood Crusade as they go straight for the Caitlyn. Youngbin's going to pick that up.
Definitely. Something that he's shown a lot of promise on in the past. A little bit surprising to me that that is coming out when things like Kai'Sa are still on the table. I know they're not as strong as they are on the Worlds patch, but ooh, that's interesting. The Swain coming out. We've been seeing this pop up in support a lot more, at least in my solo queue games, simply because it provides a lot more utility, but it's normally paired with something that also has crowd control in the bottom lane. You're able to put it down and then yank them to get a little bit of bonus health every single time you go in.
Yeah, so it is kind of strange. I'm just looking for those sneaky what the hell? Cupcake traps. Oh, that's what I was merging the words together. That's what was going on.
There you go.
Unless the brain doesn't even work. I mean, I guess
Maybe
you're
you should
looking
do
for
more
that to be able
warm-ups.
to get the crowd control, be able to pull them in, but even then, I don't see that being that effective. I feel like this is a thing where they're waiting more for the mid game to have that Swain shine, more so than you would in the early game, which is typically why you take a mage. You want the early game pressure.
Yeah, so I'm curious to see how Kim Down actually performs on this pick. It obviously creates a big threat, even if you don't build a whole lot of AP, simply because you're there, you're doing a lot of damage, you're sustain tanking against everything, and Lucky Crunkers, they don't have a whole lot of magic damage available to them. It's almost all physical damage auto attackers between Not the Real Philip playing Kled and QDNG with the Zaya. They're trying to chew through all this sustain taking. They don't have a real way to burn out or burst out this way, and so instead they're going to be reliant on finding different opportunities to cut the healing, get that Executioner's Calling, get the Morellonomicon so that you can actually kill all of these members.
Let's talk about the safety drafted on the side of Lucky as well. I mean, you always have the protection of the Galio, it's great, but once you take the Karma, that brings you both the shield, the movement speed, the snares, as well as the base damage that comes out of her Qs, especially if it's Manfred over in the bot lane. So you have a lot of tools that work both ways, offensively and defensively. And it makes me like the composition a little bit more of Krunker just because it works better at all stages of the game, whereas First Blood Crusaders, they need a little bit of income before you're going to start seeing that success.
It's true. And I feel like the one difference, you touched on it just a little bit, there's a lot of focus on Lucky Crunker trying to keep ENG alive as we jump up.
Welcome to Summoner's Rift.
Connected.
30 seconds until minions spawn.
On go. All right, yo. Hey, welcome back. We are in the game today. Unfortunately, TeamSpeak has really bad keybinds. But anyway, we are back. What's up, guys? Hey. All right.
Hey,
we're jumping in.
It's me, boy.
It's your boy. Yeah, okay. Shake your fist at T21, everyone. I'm going to keep saying that. But yeah, we are finally getting into the Rift. We'll be fixing out this view in just a second. But First Blood Crusaders, they're not going for what I wanted, Josh. They're not going for the
Not yet.
deep invade.
They still have an opportunity to do so, but considering where Infectrix is currently sitting, I'm not really expecting them to do much of anything. Instead, Lucky Crunker is potentially looking to set up for an invade of their own, but they will be going over a ward. They will be running right into Rinny, which could potentially give them a bad time if they end up taking too much damage before the fight actually starts. Instead, it's going to be backing away to their own blue buff.
And I gotta ask you, how do you think this bot lane is gonna play out? Because we talked about it earlier.
Hey.
You get a lot of priority getting that screen fixed right there. You get a lot of priority going with the mage, but we kind of got the mage versus mage thing going on with Swain versus Karma. You do tend to get a bit more priority thanks to Xayah and being able to retract your feathers. It clears the way pretty quickly, but it's kind of both ways here. You do got that range and safety coming out of the Caitlyn, so it does make me wonder how this lane is going to shape up and what jungler is going to be stalking down in the bot lane.
The big question to me is, where does QDNG actually put his Mantra Qs? As Jarvan's coming around the mid lane, this might be an opportunity to kill.
Yeah, the flag and drag able to get the knock up, a lot of damage going through. Sub 100 health. The first blood going to come in for the first blood Crusaders, thanks to this J4.
Yeah, and another fight up in the top lane. Tip's going very low, not real
Oh.
Philip.
Yeah, he's critically low. One more auto finishes. Doesn't even need the auto. Just going to pop the Q, get that buckshot going, and another kill for kill so far in LKT versus FBC.
Yeah, I'm surprised. Just seeing that Not Real Philip got level 2 first. We're going to go ahead into a replay. And honestly, at the point that Jarvan gets behind you here, it's just textbook. You're able to go in. You see that he actually takes the Ruined Prison at level 2 simply because he knows his jungler is going to come around. And up in the top lane, again, this is just the difference of having an extra level. You get a whole bunch of extra stats and predicting the flash. Make sure you hit them with the pistol shot means that there's no opportunity for Tibbs to run at all. It's forced to use his teleport to get back to lane. And Not Real Philip gets to crash an extra wave.
And
We were talking
Priest-
a little bit about
Okay, and Robo Joe once again, but the one thing I did like, despite even going down in the mid lane, always playing Ahia, held on to the flash. That's one of the big things there. He knew he was going down, so he'd rather just hold on to it and have that tool for later. And that could be a difference maker, especially because he's going to have that tool for repeat gank comes.
Alright, we're trying something out real quick, guys.
Hopefully we get Joshi back.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Alright, sorry. We're gonna try something out real quick. And we'll see if we can get this fixed between games 1 and 2, but in the meantime, where are we? We're still at a situation where we have been seeing a lot of usage from QDNG in the bottom lane, trying to use his Qs to control the wave, but it's difficult with how much wave clear is still available to come down in Youngbin. But Infectrix coming out right as QDNG and Brandon Choi potentially looking to push forward. It's Infectrix again. They seem to have him spotted out though. That shouldn't end up giving over anything too bad here.
It's pretty good timing, but pretty good awareness coming out of Krunker's bot lane as they're able to just play this slowly and surely and safely to ensure that they're still going to have this lane. Things are still going to be going okay for them, and they could still get some farm rather than actually forfeiting their lives as well as farm. So far this game going out, I do like how much this J4 is going for constant ganks in the early game.
Yeah, it's not a champion that we've been seeing nearly as much recently. Obviously, things like the Lee Sin. Wow, that actually goes through. Lots of damage on
Brandon. Getting completely punished right there, but he's under the tower. He should be safe unless it's a flash forward, a flash back coming out of QTNG. But now the Lee Sin, smelling the blood a little bit, backing off is going to be Youngmin and Kim down.
Yeah, walking over a ward, though, shouldn't have an opportunity to go on the bot lane down here, and instead, just going to have to back away. He has been doing a good job of farming, but in the top lane, Infectrix potentially going for a gank. Still there, kind of.
Yeah, look, trying to go for it, but so far, just a little bit too deep towards that tower. Not the real fill-up. Will be fine having that protection, but that attention going towards the bot side means that Kenv is happy to go straight after this Infernal Drake, but the attention has been drawn to the First Blood Crusaders. Ken going to back off.
Yeah, it's just very entertaining watching Infectrix just run around. They pinged out that the attention was getting paid to the Infernal Dragon and immediately starts running all the way from top lane to bottom lane, but Ken looking to come down around. There's no ward this time, and if Kim down and Youngbin go too far forward with all the wave clear they've been using on this wave, it could be a very dangerous position. But they're calling out that exact plan, and now Infectrix on his way down. We're potentially looking at a 3v3.
And the wave is going to be caught by another part of the wave. Now Ken looking to go for the gank over in the bot side. Flag and Drag will get the knockup onto him as QTNG on the run. One more auto to finish off Ken, but Ken still being able to get away. Youngbin will take down QTNG in the process. The charge going to go through. Infetrix finds Ken. Still going in. Is not the real Philip, but he's dived a little bit too far deep. He's going to be in the hands of 4 members of the First Blood Crusaders, but a hero's entrance coming in from Always Plan Ahead will keep him alive.
Yeah, the dynamic entry paired with the dynamic exit. Always Plan Ahead wanted nothing to do with that situation as soon as they realized what was going on. And First Blood Crusade already popping off to an early lead, 3-1 in kills. And it was a little bit surprising. Ken V1 has had a super tough time moving around, and with his death, it is going to be an opportunity for First Blood Crusade to pick up the Infernal Dragon as well. So massive advantages coming to them all across the map.
Yeah, such good map awareness coming out of the First Blood Crusaders. I mean, they stopped the Infernal from earlier that Ken was trying to sneak, and then they just played the bot lane fight better. So far, this early game is belonging to them, and considering their composition, it's looking good for the First Blood Crusaders. Ooh, getting a knock up in the mid lane. Meanwhile, able to get the taunt in. Low mana on Rene, but QTNG not going to be able to get there in time. Channeling that recall, QT just needs to throw out 1 Q with the mantra, getting the damage in, looking to cut off the escape route. The ignite goes off, but Rennie should be able to survive. 1 more tick remains, and he gets his recall.
Yeah, coming in very close, going for a little bit of a greedier recall, but not having any idea where QTNG is, but ultimately it is going to be able to walk back to lane without a whole lot. Actually, really surprising to me. Again, the Lucky Crunkers choosing to pick up the Ignite on their mid lane Galio because they don't have a whole lot of kill pressure. At the same time, across the map, now that Youngmin and Kim down, we touched on this earlier. I wanted to talk about how QTNG was trying to use all of his tools to try and keep this off of the turret, but it's difficult. They're playing a double range matchup, so you don't have somebody that you can just hit for free and get those Frostfang stacks, and instead, you're just getting outranged by the fact that Youngmin playing Caitlyn, the longest range champion in the entire game, for at least several more levels. And Brandon Choi and QTNG, no real recourse.
Yeah, it's really rough in this bot lane. I mean, over 20 CS differential going on, but Flag and Drag in the jungle. Meanwhile, as well as the Cataclysm going to be used onto Ken. Ken will fall. Now getting rooted up is going to be Always Plan Ahead, trying to run away, trying to get the snares, but a fight breaking down in the bot lane. Young Bin falls critically low and drops to QTNG. Meanwhile, here comes another knockup. Always Plan Ahead, trying to survive, but Rene is going to be able to get him down.
Yeah, fights all across the map. It's not over. Tibbs going in.
Yeah, underneath the tower, not the real Philip, has now been taken to the Shadow Realm, but it's not really feeling it. Is going to be Tibbs. It's going to go neutral.
Interesting that he chose to use it at such a late point. We're going to get a replay of everything that just transpired down here in the bottom lane after Infectrix kills Ken V. Youngin goes a little bit aggressive and instantly gets flashed by Brandon Choi, leaving him no real options with no flash, no heal available. At the same time, easy cleanup at this point, no flash either on Always Plan Ahead. Just going to be giving over yet another kill in this Rise and this Jarvan. We're already talking about doing a lot of ganking, going to have a lot of scaling potential with this mid laner. Looking very, very scary. So it's not going to matter that kill's going over to Karma just quite yet. I really feel like First Blood Crusade in a very strong position to continue their dominance through the bottom lane.
Yeah, but there is some life left in Crunkers when it comes to that bot lane. Just being able to get that kill is a huge factor, and the fact that Xayah doesn't tend to be as expensive as a Caitlyn is, as a fight does break up at the top lane, just looking to stop the recalls. So you'll see that Xayah online, especially because of those skills. You get the base damages off those skills, while Caitlyn is more just about the auto attacks and if she can land that net.
So it'll be very interesting to see what ends up happening. I feel like we're looking at a fairly standard 1-3-1 style composition coming out from the First Blood Crusade. You do have the Rise, you do have the Mordekaiser, both very powerful split pushers. Thank you, Joe, for the beauty of what's going on right now as we are all stuck in the death realm from the perspective of Tibbs. But the 1-3-1, you have a very safe situation with Youngbin, Kim down, and Infectrix having plenty of engage and disengage tools, while Rini and Tibbs off in the side lane dealing with their respective opponents. They gotta make sure they're strong enough on the sides.
Ooh, you gotta be careful. Kim down can bring his own damage to the party, and Ken being the first recipient of that over in that bot lane skirmish, but the fight continues. Not the real Philip is looking to run away as the teleport is being channeled from Tibbs, looking to get the interrupt. Will be Always Plan Ahead, who's going to be able to claim it thanks to that taunt, and that's a teleport burnt. Not the real Philip will be able to get away.
Yeah, ends up not having the ultimate available, not going to be able to push too aggressively onto Always Plan Ahead, but it is going to be a teleport burn, and I'm not sure he wanted to go down to the bottom side anyway. Wait, Infectrix. Kind of messing around. Going to be providing a little bit more power to Youngman and Kim down, grabbing themselves a third plate off the bottom lane turret, allowing them to continue maintaining their 20 CS lead as everybody looking to potentially go back fairly soon, buy their completed BF stored items, then come back and continue raining hell down upon each other with all the new AD that they built up.
Yeah, that's the big thing about First Blood
I was going to say, you
Crusaders
touched on it. Haha! Go ahead.
That's the big thing about First Blood Crusaders is so far this early game map control has been pretty clean. They got the only Drake of the game thus far. They're looking to get Drake number 2, as well as being able to claim 3 plates in the bot lane and 1 plate in the mid lane while sacrificing no plates thus far. It's looking pretty good for them, but now you have to face the team fight of Lucky Crunkers as they choose to go forward. Still, the health bars are sitting okay for the First Blood Crusaders. Running away is Youngbin, but Ken will be able to catch him. Not the real Philip is running low, but that Scarl bar is a little bit too high. Now Ken on the run. Tibbs will fall thanks to not the real Philip as more of those stabs of his daggers come through, but still Scarl going to be expired. Flag Drake goes through, and Intrafix is absolutely beastly. With 1 Flag Drag, he turns the fight around.
Catching the Scarl dismount coming out of Kled as well. Gonna reward them with this Mountain Dragon. What a crazy fight overall with everybody coming through. We got the replay on your screen immediately, but pay attention to what Mordekaiser is doing in this fight. He ends up breaking up the situation into a couple of 1v1s, and Ken v1 ends up finding his way onto Youngbin while Mordekaiser is in the death realm. They can't help whatsoever with nobody left to try and peel for your AD carry. Ends up going down fairly early on. And Tibbs, once he comes out, in a terrible spot, not real Philip able to remount during the whole thing. And then it looks kind of like a disaster for the First Blood Crusade until we see the re-engage. Dismounting Scarl in a perfect time, not getting interrupted by the taunt, still going to be able to get the double knock-up anyway, rewards them with the full ace, and oh, they didn't even pick up the Mountain Dragon, they had to leave.
Still, though, they got the ace, and really, that was all you needed. Infectrix 4-0-4, a beautiful play right there to make sure that the First Blood Crusaders stay in the lead, as they do have a 4k gold lead working for them in this mid game.
They're going to need a QDNG, tussling just a little bit before backing away. But this is where we're going to start looking at a weak point coming out from First Blood Crusade, simply because the gold isn't necessarily on some of their one of their big damage dealers. Youngbin on the Caitlyn hasn't had a whole lot of opportunity to get a lot of kills, get a lot of assists, and while he is up about 20 farm on his opponent, he's definitely in that power trough that Caitlyn has always been known for. Not having 2 completed items just means that they're sitting there with a long range, but not a whole lot of damage to back it up. Whereas Lucky Crunkers, this is their time when a lot of their champions are starting to come online. Brandon Choli only really needs the Essence Reaver for him to start putting out way more damage than the Youngman can.
That being said, even though Infectrix does have a lot of gold for his team, so does Rene, and that's someone you're going to have to keep your eyes on because it's one of the primary split pushers once we get into that mid-game phase that the First Blood Crusaders have working for them. So right now, Crunkers looking to get Shelly. Lots of damage on it. There's enough protection there to dissuade First Blood Crusaders from even contesting it.
Karma up there is definitely very difficult for First Blood to try and do anything, but they don't seem to be necessarily punishing Brandon Choi individually. Instead, they're more focused on taking down this first objective. They get the first brick for themselves, and Ken v1 getting jumped on.
Yeah, here we go. The fight gonna break out. Small skirmish. Gotta be careful of the Lee Sins, though. Dragon Rage coming out, as well as the Sonic Wave and Resonating Strike, looking to run away from Rene. Doesn't want any bit of that Fed Rise.
Not even having to use a flash either. A little bit preemptive coming out from Infectrix. I'm a little bit surprised he didn't try and take the fight a little bit more aggressively. You saw him trying to back away just a little bit and potentially giving Ken v1 too many opportunities to really keep himself all right in that situation, but another fight in the top lane.
Yeah, not the real Philip. It's very hard getting away from Scarl. Definitely the case. Just the stickiness, the bear trap on the rope. Kled can just stay stuck on you for days, and now they're calling up Ken v1. towards that top lane as well to deal with Tibbs as the pressure continues. Just recalls for the time being, but now we're heading into that neutral game. This is where you need to start setting up the plays if you're FBC, because you don't want Crunkers getting towards that mid-game spike.
You really don't. This is the lane swap that we were really expecting. Gonna send Youngbin and Kim down towards the mid lane, get all their wave clear online, make sure that you can start feeding CS towards the toward your AD carry in the safest way possible, whereas Tibbs and Rinne still going to be moving off to the sides. They're still very powerful in their own right, and giving them an opportunity to duel up against the weaker solo laners of Lucky Crunkers, going to be giving them a lot of freedom. You see there's already a 40 CS lead in the mid laners between the Ryze and the Galio. That'll only continue now that Ryze has a much longer area to try running down to the opponent.
And that is so frustrating to have to deal with. Early game Caitlyn's will just use their R for the sake of harassment, and Brandon Choi has just been absolutely hitting it, having to chug those potions to be able to just stay healthy enough in lane, even eating a Piltover Peacemaker is part of it. But now the rest of the squad of the Lucky Crunker is able to show up to the mid lane, try and relieve that pressure for poor Brandon.
They want to do something in order to try and upset this balance of power. They know they don't want to play this 1-3-1. They have the Kled, they have the Gallia, so they have these pseudo cross-map tools available to them. But they got to be able to bring them to bear, and as long as the wave is pushed past the river in favor of First Blood Crusade, it's very difficult for them to effectively roam. And look at the vision control that First Blood Crusade has built up for themselves. They're controlling the sides of the map. They're making sure that nobody can attack Youngbin and Kim down without being spotted from a mile away. And it's slowly giving them opportunities to get a little bit of chip damage on the mid lane turret.
Yeah, on top of all that vision deep in the jungle, allowing them to set up for the next Drake, which is coming in 1 minute and 30 seconds, which will be a Cloud Drake. And taking a look at that vision right there, look at that bottom side of the map, Joshi. It is just lit red.
You got to protect everybody who's on the bottom side, right? We touched on Youngbin and Kim down, but we haven't even talked about the fact that this Ryze, completely uncontested. Galio can't do a whole lot about it, and he can't really join the rest of the map because he doesn't have the teleport. He's got to be able to push up, and as long as you deny him access to information, as long as he doesn't know where Infectrix is, he can't move anywhere near the halfway point on the map. And so far, First Blood Crusade playing this very cleanly. With another Cloud Dragon showing up in about 50 seconds, we're going to see all of this vision really start to pay off.
The game slowing down just a bit. Rin continuing with the split push, constantly shoving that wave in. Saw earlier they tried to send not the real fill up towards that direction, but hiding in the wings will be Rinne, who just wants to push and back off. Shelly close to expiration, getting laid down onto the rift.
There you go. No plates available. We're well past that point, but still going to be able to build up a little bit of pressure. And they have a full 5 members coming in from Lucky Crunkers. The question is, will they actually be able to take this down? Nobody's confident enough to even just walk up. And that's only going to take a big chunk out of the turret. And with only 15 seconds coming up, there's still teleports available. Tibbs can join at a moment's notice. We'll see if the mid-game spike coming out is big enough.
Oh,
wow,
Kim down, instantly dropped. 1 kill going in favor of Lucky Crunkers as the hero's entrance is going to come through. Brandon Choi showing up in the mid lane. That might have been enough for Lucky to just feel confident going after this streak uncontested, but the pressure is still surmounting from the First Blood Crusaders as they respond by sieging up in the mid lane.
Yeah, Ken's going to be soloing out the dragon. That means there's a 4v4 in the mid lane still. They're going to be hitting this turret, and the minions, a huge
the
root.
snare and a double taunt comes through. Infectrix on the run, but always plan ahead. Will be the first one to fall in this extended fight. Now Tibbs taking not the real fill up to the Shadow Round, looking to back off for the time being. He's got to be careful playing around that Scarl, but Tibbs too low. And Rinne able to claim the entire bot lane of Lucky Crunkers as he claims fill up as well. Just absolutely dismantling Lucky Crunkers' team.
Man, I can't wait to see the replay. I was watching the other side of the fight as we were paying attention to Kled and the Mordekaiser, and Youngbin still not doing a whole lot of damage, so we'll have to pay attention to exactly what this Ryze is doing as he's able to blow everyone up. I was impressed with their ability to move forward and try and present pressure on this turret, but then the engage coming out from their opponents to get a huge root into a 2-man taunt, locking down a lot of what you expect to be the front line, but Rinne sitting out here on the sideline does end up getting the hill and tries to take that on the turret, and here it goes. Now he's getting the isolated 1v1 with Brandon Choi, and there is no way. He's just getting AoE across both of them and kills them at the same time. That's 1 Q.
That's gross stuff right there. That's absolutely gross stuff right there. And then Youngbin just happy to have Rene be able to deal with the back line for you. You deal with the front line. You got a full team right there. First Blood Crusaders. They're working as a well-oiled unit.
Yeah, I'm just really impressed. One of the cool bits of tech that you see this Rise going for, he actually picks up an early Aether Wisp. He's been sitting on this for a long time, and it's really going to not necessarily give him a whole lot of something to build into immediately, but the extra movement speed, always so nice to navigate around these fights. The flash was very helpful, but also just being able to move in and out. The phase rush becomes even more powerful, and you have more things to multiply it off of. And we got a reset. I'm a little bit surprised. Youngbin's up in the top lane.
Yeah, and that's kind of a reoccurring thing that we've been seeing throughout this game. Every time First Blood Crusaders take a massive win, they just kind of reset back into split push mode and not really accomplishing too much. You can't really blame them given the stage of the game. Baron has just spawned. There wasn't really that much to contest. But now we're starting to see it out of First Blood Crusaders as they're able to get the final outer turret that Lucky Crunkers had.
7,000 gold in the lead. Now Tibbs. Again, I feel like First Blood Crusade has been doing a really good job at actually getting these fights going. They've been very successful with this Rise, going for a lot of these 1v1s and isolated fights. But now going for something we've seen kind of come into vogue only very recently in the double split push, with both both solo laners moving together to really just jump on whoever comes nearby. And not sure, not really Philip.
Oh, he's walking right into it, walks into the claw, walks into the snare, and now he needs to walk under his tower to be able to stay alive as the hero's entrance from Always Plan Ahead. Able to save him, but just barely.
Yeah, that's going to be really impactful. Oh, another fight.
Yeah, fight breaking through, Kim down, taking a bit of damage, but Hypnotic Ascension, QTNG gets dropped. Infetrix able to pick up that kill, but not the real Philip has joined the fight. And Ken V takes out Kim down, goes after Youngbin. Youngbin over the wall, try to run away from not the real Philip, but good luck getting away from a Kled. As the autos go through, he's able to knock him off Scarl, so might be able to survive there, but Infectrix, flag drag over the wall, gets caught by the Sonic Wave, resonating strike, able to find the shutdown.
What a weird fight once again. You said no way that he's going to be able to get away, but Youngmin, this is why this guy has made it to places like Academy, has been on successful collegiate teams as well. He's got the mechanics, he's got the character to back it up, but Ken V1 once again finding another small outplay on his opponents. We see how this exactly started. It just looks like a fairly standard catch. Kim down, Infectrix using all their abilities, and Youngbin also able to pick up a big fight on their opponents. And it looks almost over. Right, Youngmin gets a huge headshot onto Brandon Choi, but ends up not being enough. He has an opportunity to return fire, and this, Youngmin not actually going down, some beautiful trap usage, slowing down his opponent, not allowing him to get anywhere close, and you see, Not Real Philip has to just kind of limp away from the fight.
That was smooth right there. You got to give him all the credit in the world, because Bear Trap on a rope, the dashes, it's hard to get away from a Kled. Youngbin does just that, kind of beating him at his own game. Instead of a Bear Trap, it's the Cupcake Trap coming through. Youngbin, 2-2 and 3. He's starting to get towards those late game stages where he starts to become a threat.
He's got a lot of farm too. You look at the other members of the game. Rene with 256, obviously the highest in the game. In fact, he's getting close to Flame Horizoning multiple players on the other team. Youngbin, the second highest in the game, as we see another potential opportunity for fighting another ace in the hole is there, and Tibbs and Not Real Philip tagging each other once again.
The autos coming in, Tibbs looking to survive this by taking it to the Shadow Realm, but Not Real Philip brings a lot of damage in this fight. He's also bringing his squad once the Shadow Realm expires, and Baron's going to be a member of the Lucky Crunkers as well, as a kill is picked up on Tibbs.
But again, reminiscent of G2, you see that this Rise off on the side looking to make his own plays, but he's getting caught out.
Yeah, now getting caught out, knocked up, trying to flash away to be able to isolate Brandon Choi. The roots come in, the shutdown is going to be followed. Brandon Choi gets the kill with the assist from Always Plan Ahead.
Are they really going to try and go for this Cloud Dragon with all 5 members of the Lucky Crunkers still alive? They are, actually, and it looks like it's going to be completely uncontested. First Blood Crusade still going to be taking things out from underneath the nose of their opponents, as Lucky Crunkers not quite on the same page and trying to lock down these objectives.
Now watch for Ken V1. He's looking for that insect kick. There's not much in terms of tanky boys that Youngbin can really get behind, so Ken V1 would be happy getting that Dragon's Rage onto any of these members of the First Blood Crusaders, but having a hard time getting that set up. Always plan ahead. He is coming from the flank right now. He's going to look to make the sideline play, and the fight's going to start to break out as the Cataclysm goes out. So does the Hero's entrance. Doesn't find the knockup, though, but is able to get the triple taunt. And now this is buying time that Lucky Crunkers absolutely need to win this team fight. But First Blood Crusaders have collected themselves, and now they are collecting kills on top of this. QTNG goes down. Ken V1 trying to survive this. Standing on top of the trap is going to be Young Bin, just to make sure that Resonating Strike will be punished. But the First Blood Crusaders, they claim to, and their reward might be barren.
How does Youngmin always land these ace in the holes on every single member he's going for, sniping out his counterpart with just, again, another R button? Guys, you can stand in front of that. You can stop it from hitting the primary target. And again, Youngmin lands it every single time. First Blood Crusade on track to take down this game as they extend their gold lead to more than 8,000. This Baron power play should give them the necessary tools to break open the base and potentially end this game.
Yeah, that's the critical 10k points, and the Baron power play is now underway. Those purchases coming in. You can see the trifecta now finished from Youngbin, able to get a stopwatch on top of it. So good luck taking him down. The damage is going to be very hard to deal with if you're Lucky Crunkers dealing with the First Blood Crusader sieges.
Now, with all these melee characters, too, this Runin's Hurricane actually going to be way more effective than it often is. You normally see this paired with something like a Static Shiv, but the Runin's Hurricane, with all of these UFC fighters, all of these guys brawling it out with the big cage magic getting created by Infectrix, going to be easy to hit multiple members with all the bolts from the Runin's Hurricane. So I'm excited to see what Youngbin will actually be bringing to this game in terms of damage very shortly. He's been very effective thus far. Extending that 2-2-3 to 4-2-3 is... I'm a little bit surprised people are setting up around the dragon. There's not a dragon alive right now.
It's not going to be a dragon alive for another 2 minutes and 30 seconds, but... there it is. The Realm Warp comes out. Rene is going to be able to stay alive, but the rest of the squad of the First Blood Crusaders have started to collapse onto Lucky Crunkers. There comes the Flag and Drake, able to get the knockup onto Ken V1, who's running critically low. Has to go golden, but QTNG as well as Ken V1 will both fall at the hands of the First Blood Crusaders. Now completely on retreat is Lucky Crunkers.
You can't catch this rise. He's still got the Realm Warp available, and now with 5-on-3, it's going to be First Blood Crusade barreling into their opponent's base. They already take the first inhibitor, and they got 20 seconds left for either Lee Sin or Karma are available. They don't have a whole lot of tools left to them, so we'll see how much damage First Blood can do.
This is late game Caitlyn, able to wail away at these towers and wail away at these opponents' health bars. Starting to go critically low as Youngbin continues the autos, completely uncontested, claims a kill, claims another one, able to make it a double, and Tibbs on the backline finds the ace. QTNG can only watch as his base goes up in flames in game number 1 of First Blood Crusaders versus Lucky Crunkers team.
I have never seen a Caitlyn with so many ace in the hole kills than what we just saw coming up from Youngbin, locking down his opponents and getting that perfect shot over and over and over again. Beautiful play coming up from First Blood Crusade, and once they had control of everything, there was no real turning back. And I think it all started in the mid lane. At the very beginning, Jarvan comes around for a level 2 gank and catches out, always plan ahead. I mean, he's missing the D at the end, so it's always plan ahead, and maybe he just needs to get the full part of it in order to try and turn things around for game 2.
Yeah, and I mean, it continued, Joshi. It wasn't just that moment that was the calm before the storm. The CS leads was really indicative of what was going on in this match, especially with Youngbin, who, as you were saying earlier in the game, was basically flame horizoning every single lane.
We'll see if we can get even more of it, because honestly, this is a big upset if it goes through. First Blood Crusade going up against their opponents are having a huge time. They're the 2-2 members, whereas the Lucky Crunkers currently 4-0. So if they can start moving their way up, you're saying this is a time where it's really come down to crunch time. You gotta pick up every win you can in order to try and turn things around, get all these wins, and make your way to the first seed in your own division.
Yeah, so we're going to throw it over to a short break. When we return, we'll get into this little bit of an impromptu, unscheduled match of First Blood Crusaders versus the Lucky Crunkers team. We'll be right back.
Legends never die when the world is calling you. Can you hear them screaming out your name? Legends never die, they become a part of you. Every time you bleed for reaching greatness, relentless, you survive. They never lose hope when everything's cold and the fighting's near. It's deep in their bones, they'll rot into smoke when the fire is fierce. No, pick yourself up, 'cause legends never die when the world's calling you. Can you hear them screaming out your name? Legends never die, they become a part of you. Every time you bleed for reaching greatness, legends never die. They're written down in eternity, but you'll never see the price it costs. The scars collected all their lives. When everything's lost, they pick up their hearts and avenge defeat. Before it all starts, they suffer through harm just to touch a dream. Oh, pick yourself up, 'cause legends never die when the world's calling you. Can you hear them screaming out your name? Legends never die, they become a part of you. Every time you bleed for reaching greatness, legends never die. When the world is calling out your name, begging you to fight. Pick yourself up once more. Pick yourself up, 'cause legends never die when the world's calling you. Can you hear them screaming out your name? Legends never die, they become a part of you. Every time you bleed for reaching greatness, legends never die.
Tell me, where do I go? Tell me, where do I take us? Your heart is starting to slow. May the water be safe. As I dive in, bloodstains washing underneath the waves. I'll be reaching out to keep you safe. As we fall, I can't hold on much longer. We're drifting down to the other side. Try to
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Risen Esports Champions League First Blood Crusaders versus the Lucky Crunker team. We already saw game number one. First Blood Crusaders in a very dominant fashion able to take that game.
Yeah, it was pretty surprising considering what their prior record was, but we did go back and take a look at the last time these guys played against each other, and it was Lucky Crunker picking up in a forfeit due to First Blood Crusade not being able to make it at the time, which does make things make a little bit more sense. Things are starting to come together. First Blood Crusade just looked very, very strong and well coordinated throughout the vast majority of that game.
Yeah, I mean, I talked about it before the break, but the CS, the creep score, that was one of the biggest differentials we've seen in almost every lane, but more particularly with Youngbin. It all started with that and the ganks that we saw earlier with the whole J4 flag, drag the Galio, and take down always plan Ahia, make him stay true to his name. But it was just a chain reaction of success for First Blood Crusaders.
And we touched on the fact that there might be this big power differential in the mid game, right? As Caitlyn doesn't have an opportunity to build up all the items, but it just got turned around again. We don't have a replay immediately available, but for Infectrix going in and finding that triple knockup as he gets taunted and turning everything immediately on its head, it allows the First Blood Crusade to just ride through what was looking like a pretty rough potential mid game and just take total control. And once that happened, they never let it go. They were able to constantly find every single fight that they wanted.
Yeah, I mean, First Blood Crusaders, every single member played their game. I mean, we saw everyone be a highlight reel at some point. Infectrix, we were just talking about it. The flag and drag timed with the Scarl was absolutely beautiful. Rene, some of the damage that Rene was able to put out was ridiculous in his split pushes. Youngbin and Kim down, their laning was absolutely spectacular. And then there's Tibbs. So First Blood Crusaders, they just looked great in every single matchup. I mean, even though I'm like giving Tibbs a little bit of shade, he still performed his spot quite well.
Yeah, it did exactly what he needed to. He's Mordekaiser. He presses R on the Fed member of the other team and says, like, all right, well, you don't get to participate anymore. And hopefully by the time we're done with this, my team has won the rest of the 4v4. And most of the time, he was right. It worked out.
But for Lucky Crunkers, what does need to change for them? Because they had a very early game oriented team, a mid to early game oriented team, with the Lee Sin, who worked so well in the early game, and having a bot lane of the Xayah and Karma that should push well into the mid game that just absolutely fell short very early on.
I think they hurt themselves quite a bit picking this Galio, simply because it's a champion that has some strong strengths, simply because you have the opportunity to run around the map and affect the side lanes, but it can't split push. It can't go up against something like the Rise. There's no way it can match the wave clear. It's not going to be able to rotate nearly as quickly, and they could have assuaged that a little bit by taking the teleport on the Galio, but Rene just got so far ahead that there is no real opportunity for Always Planet Hayes. So if they have an opportunity to pick up a counter pick now that they're on the red side and nullify a little bit of that mismatch, it's going to be way more helpful for them since they're not giving up just free lane priority in the most important lane.
Yeah, and with the unfortunate timing with this draft, having to switch to this production instead of the game we had planned, we didn't really get to see what was the champion select order, so all we saw was Kled first of Lucky Crunkers. We don't know if that was their actual true first pick, because you were saying it in the champ select. It did seem a little bit weird, because usually Kled is reserved for that counter pick spot.
We'll see what ends up happening overall. Lucky Crunkers do have the red side, as they are going to be swiping sides of the map. And if they can do that, they have a good chance. They went toe-to-toe in several team fights. They were just so far behind in goal that it ended up not mattering later on in the game.
I mean, come on. We saw some big moments where we're just going to flip out, like the Xayah play with the feathers early on, taking down Youngbin with the flash forward feather storm. There's some hope for Lucky Crunkers. Like, we can't just count them out right out the gate.
Yeah. I think they have plenty of opportunities. They had things from their opponents that they could punish. Like, they tried to run down the Rise a couple of times, and once it was successful, once it ended up losing them the game, because multiple members ended up getting caught out as they were trying to catch their opponent. Yeah. I think that's easy to fix.
So we are going to throw it over to short break, and when we return, we'll actually get into the champion select of Lucky Crunker's team versus the First Blood Crusaders. Thank you again for sticking with us through these little bit of complicated times with the production hiccups that have been going on thanks to a forfeited match, but we're getting it going, and we'll have that match underway right after this break. We'll be right back.
What are you willing to lose? You cover your wounds, but underneath them, a million voices in your head that whisper, stop now. Another twist of the knife, a turn of the screws, it's all in your mind, and it's fighting you on yourself. Storm is coming. Wow, kid, what you gonna do now? It's your reflection looking back to pull you down. So are you gonna die today or make it out alive? You gotta conquer the monster in your head and then you'll fly, fly, Phoenix fly. It's time for a new empire. Go bury your demons, then tear down the ceiling, Phoenix fly. And now you're playing with matches, come out of the ashes underneath you. A million voices in the crowd, they're screaming, stop now. Well, let them swallow the pride, you're turning the tide to true believers. Got them in the palm of your hand, you're playing God now. What you gonna do now? It's your reflection looking back to pull you down. So are you gonna die today or make it out alive? You gotta conquer the monster in your head and then you'll fly, fly, Phoenix fly. It's time for a new empire. Go bury your demons, then tear down
Okay. Not sure what happened there, but we're good. Nocturne, Kale, locked in First Blood Crusaders. Last pick for Lucky Crunker team will be Cassiopeia.
Yeah, a little bit interesting to see the Kale coming out. It's oftentimes something that you are going to be sending towards the top lane with the Ornn already locked in. Not really going to have an opportunity to play that super effectively in the mid lane, so definitely going to be going towards the top side of the map as the second round of bans. With all these solo laners already picked up, I have to imagine that somebody is getting a little bit of a mixed read on exactly what is going down between these two sides, as both sides still need to pick up a bottom lane coming through, with the only bot lane bans being the Draven and Thresh. Something funky is going on, Mr. Eric.
Yeah, surprising such a little focus going towards the bot lane when it comes to the draft, when it comes to the bans, and Crunker are going to be able to pick up the free Xayah, which allows Youngbin to go back to what has worked tried and true is the Caitlyn, but this time paired with the Morgana, so you have this insane lane pushing that Lucky Crunkers is going to have to deal with.
Yeah, and interestingly enough, the Xayah not going to get paired with their Khan as you might expect. Instead, Uganda and Royalty going to go right on back to that Karma, going to be trying to do something very similar in terms of their support. And now, Lucky Crunkers have a lot of damage threats available to them. So they don't have the same weakness they had last time, where they were really reliant on QDNG, really trying to snowball the game through the one damage threat that they had available to them. And now, if they can get any of these lanes rolling, they can just take total control during the mid game when both Rini and Youngbin are trying to scale up.
I'd honestly argue that this is still kind of shades of game number one. I mean, yeah, they have more tools now, but they're still focused around the same area. Just now you have the contingency plan of that late game Cassiopeia. Meanwhile, First Blood Crusaders, they're just doing what works. We saw it earlier, First Blood Crusaders, they had this like kind of pseudo late game team comp. You still have it when you have the Kale and the Caitlyn, but now you have that tried and true team fight comp when you take the Ornn as well. So I'm liking First Blood Crusaders. They're adapting in strange ways. Lucky Crunker, however, they're just kind of, I'm afraid they're going for the beat their head into the brick wall until it breaks approach.
See what ends up happening. I'm expecting Kleptomancy coming out in the top lane from not the real Phillips, so that he can get all that free gold off of Ornn. It's very difficult for Ornn and Nocturne to necessarily lock down this Jason, find these early ganks. And in fact, the only lane that I think First Blood Crusade can really play around during this game is going to be the bottom lane. Caitlyn Morgana, we already saw how much Youngman and Kim Down were constantly pushing their opponents into the other lane, which on the one hand gives an opportunity for Infectrix to die, but on the other hand invites the Elites to come down and gank them over and over again.
Oh, and it gets so deadly. Minus the Elise and everything, if you're dealing with the other side of things, with the Nocturne and the Paranoia, and the constant shoving that's going to come out of Youngbin and Kim Down, you're scared if you're the Lucky Crunkers bot lane, because you have to deal with cupcake traps, you have to deal with dark bindings, and you have to deal with the boogeyman coming out of the bushes. But as you said, Elise can be just as dangerous in the early game, more dangerous in the early game as a jungler.
This is an odd start coming out from Lucky Crunkers. Going all the way around, they are going to spot Tibbs, but all of their careful preparation ends up just going to naught as soon as they see him. It's an interesting idea, trying to get into the bush in a direction that most people wouldn't necessarily expect. There is a small area of fog of war that they could end up walking through that their opponents wouldn't know about. I guess if Tibbs was chilling out in that bush, it definitely could have given them a little bit more opportunities to lock down individual members, but instead, just going to be giving Kim Down the opportunity to throw down a ward of his own and get a better read on where Ken B1 is starting.
I mean, interesting idea. Work on the execution. I definitely like what they were going with there, trying to cheese out an early kill, but when you give up that much information, you get what you just said right now, which just came down getting that deep ward, and early deep wards are so crucial to the early flow of the game, being able to track the enemy jungler.
And simply because Lucky Crunkers are going to be allowing their Elise to be starting on the top side of the map, they are going to get that early push going up against Caitlyn Morgana, which should help for at least a couple of waves early on, but instead, looks like Tomo9 going to be spending a little bit more time trying to freeze things out and maybe deny a couple CS from his opponent, but they are going to be able to get back in range for the experience and not going to end up missing almost anything. Kim Down also starting with the binding means that it doesn't look like they're going to be trying to contest the wave early on.
Yeah.
Maybe in a couple levels.
But it does get kind of obnoxious, especially when the cupcake traps come and you get a dark binding. You're pretty much guaranteed to be followed up, with a cupcake trap, so threat's always going to be there, and it's something that Crunkers are just unfortunately going to have to deal with. But as of right now, they do got the level 2 advantage, and they're going to work that as best as they can, zoning away the bot lane, the First Blood Crusaders.
Yeah, always plan ahead, goes in, puts a ward down, knows that Nocturne started at the red buff, so get a little bit of information in response now that they do have the added priority. A little bit dangerous, but with no priority coming through from a level 2 kill, there's not a whole lot that they're ultimately worried about. And you see right there, getting a ton of damage traded back every single time this kill goes in to try and proc the Kleptomancy. And see what they end up doing with it later on, simply because it's so weak early on.
And meanwhile, back in the bot lane, level 2 is picked up by Kim Down, so now you're going to start seeing that pushing. You can see the Tormented Soil going down, just trying to get it on the caster creeps, lower them down as much as possible, and then clear the wave, push it towards the tower, and get that lane prio. But we do have a pause going on in this matchup.
Not sure exactly what's going on. We'll get that back into the game here in just a couple of moments. But as we kind of expected, there is not a whole lot of priority coming out from either the top side or the mid lane in terms of First Blood Crusade. Almost all of it going over to Lucky Crunkers, which will give an opportunity for Elise to invade the Nocturne fairly early on. Pretty good matchup overall, simply because you have plenty of ways to try and bait out the spell shield, and then go for a big burst opportunity, and you can dodge most of the fear by repelling at the right time. So it's going to be rather effective overall if they ever do choose to go for that. But at the same time, the bottom lane, not necessarily going the direction we expected. We saw the Caitlyn Morgana get pushed underneath the turret. While they were on the strong side of the map, they had the Nocturne with them, but weren't able to do anything about it.
Yeah, the big thing about that was just Xayah pushes a little bit better at level 1, and so the level 2 came out earlier for Lucky Crunker team, and smart of them to push it because you know what Youngbin and Kim Down can do. But as this game shapes up, that's going to be the real test when dealing with the bot lane of First Blood Crusaders.
And I think we'll have to see how effective Youngmin can be as this game goes on. He's got a lot of people who are going to try and dive onto him in this game. You got both the Jace and the Elise who can solo burst out an AD carry later on in this game. And then, of course, such a powerful backline as well from the Lucky Crunkers, with both the Cassiopeia and the Xayah able to put out so much damage while being supported by the Karma. I think it's going to be a much tougher nut to crack once these guys actually start coming together. And you got to be very careful on the split as well, because the only person who might be able to match the Jace is going to be the Kayle, and that's going to be at least 15-20 minutes out before that even becomes possible.
Yeah, until then, you really got to work on that early game, and that early game is going to be off the back of the Elise. Elise she has great early game damage, missing health damage, and of course the repel, which means you can start the tower dive, get the damage, and back off. But we are going to take a look at some of the replays. Actually, we're going off to a live game now. We're back! We're back in it! No more pause.
Here we go. NV1 down at the bottom half of the map, currently looking to get a little bit of pressure, grab this Scuttle Crab, and you have seen that since he hasn't gone for the back, has been able to clear his jungle more efficiently than his opponent thus far. But now with Infectrix on the top side of the map, potentially presenting a little bit of pressure up against Philip, as Kim Down taking a lot of pressure as they move around. Ken might actually be looking for a dive, but they don't really have a wave.
Now they're really shoving in this wave to make sure it crashes into the tower, and here comes the tower dive. They're going forward with it, putting out the Spiderling, really waiting for that cocoon to be dropped. The damage is going to get it's going to be First Blood going over to Kim Down. Now Brandon Choi is in a world of hurt, in a world of troubles. Youngbin tries to chase him down. The flash still available for Brandon as the flash forward comes out. Piltover Peacemaker will not take down Brandon, and Kim Down will be able to stay alive as well despite the flash coming out of Tomo. But interesting exchange going on in the bot lane ultimately results in a kill.
Top lane.
Over towards
Infectrix
Kim
is
Down,
here.
but the fight is not over. Infectrix showing up towards the top lane, look to find a kill onto not the real Philip, but always plan ahead. Plenty ahead on this one, taking the teleport to show up to help his comrade, and it's exactly what it's going to do, as not the real Philip will be able to walk away.
All these champions showing up to the top lane, and the only ones who are really effective in combat this early on in the game are going to be the ones for Lucky Crunker, so I'm a little bit surprised that everybody came up, but now Infectrix going to help out his top laner, make sure this lane crashes, and gives another opportunity for Ken to try and come down for a repeat gank.
No flashes.
That's a big minion wave.
Now here we go, First Blood Crusaders. Gonna be hard to survive this one. They're able to get the cocoon, going after Kim Down. The snare goes through, but the autos are coming through as well. The Spiderling blocks the net, ensuring that Youngbin will not get the kill, but Tibbs has now shown up, trying to get those autos in, almost gets rooted, has to back off. The cocoon almost lands on the backside of Youngbin, so barely able to survive will be Youngbin, but he lost Kim Down in that last fight.
Teleport coming out from Tomo, going to be giving them a lot of opportunities. They were able to get back to lane so quickly, and I was worried. You saw that there is nearly a wave and a half built up for the side of First Blood Crusade, and now it's going to be turned around. They're going to bring it down into their opponent's side of the map. They're going to be able to re-crash it. And the CS differential that we saw at the very beginning of the last game is completely turned on its head. But at the same time, Infectrix is going to be picking up something on the other side of the map. This is that quid pro quo that we see every single time in League of Legends, where slowly, looks like Lucky Crunker is going to be building up advantages in almost every single place on the map.
Yeah, it's feeling good right now for the Lucky Crunkers. This is the playstyle we definitely needed to see from them. I mean, Ken V1 on the Elise, you need those early ganks, you need to apply the pressure, and he's applying it to the most vulnerable of the lanes, and that is the First Blood Crusaders bot lanes. As stalling out the recall, Kim down, being a little bit of a pest right there, but doing a great job overall. Just stall those recalls, force them to either stay in lane, which, as you can see right now, that is going to be the case, and not be able to get that crucial back in major purchases.
Can't imagine that he's sitting on too much gold, but still, double longsword would really help in trying to turn things around when you're looking at the fact that Youngbin currently sitting on the pickaxe. But again, big CS advantages coming out from everywhere on the map. The Conqueror coming out from Not Real Philip means that he will have a much better time brawling up against the Ornn than the Kleptomancy, though it means that he will be sitting on a little bit less gold unless they find some of these early kills. And look at this. Ken, once again, sitting down here in the bottom lane, potentially looking at yet another gank.
Stopping his recall, resetting it. Waiting for some action to trigger a fight. Brandon Choi getting hit by the Dark Binding, but it's not going to initiate the fight. Instead, just going through the recall will be Ken V1. We'll get some purchase in. Not completing his jungle item just yet. It's a little bit of gold shy of that. That's when Elise becomes a little bit more of a threat. You get the Runic Echoes, the damage really does start to spike up.
Doesn't look like Youngbin and Kim Down necessarily realize that Brandon Choi left immediately, as we get a little bit of vision into the gold coming out on the map. And you see that the biggest difference actually coming in the mid lane, where you see 400 gold currently in favor of Always Plan Ahead, and this is that counter pick coming to fruition that we were talking about. He's up 20 CS, already got multiple tier, or just the one tier, but already got the tiers stacking up so that he can skyrocket ahead in effectiveness, and definitely going to be more effective once these mid-game team fights actually start up. If they start up, though, you got lots of people trying to navigate around the bottom side of the river without getting spotted out.
That's a healthy amount of gold, too. I mean, no kills, no assists, nothing. Actually, fight breaking out in the top lane. Call the Forge God goes out, gets the knock-up onto Not the Real Philip, who's just destroyed Tibbs with the combo of CC, gets the kill solo in the top lane.
And the switch to Ignite, the Unsealed Spellbook, paying off as there's no opportunity for Jace to do anything about that. Ends up using the Thundering Blow in a situation where he couldn't knock Tibbs out of his second part of the call of the Forge God, and Ornn actually finding a solo kill in this lane, not something that you should necessarily be expecting, especially with the CS differential that we've already seen.
Yeah, that base damage gets a little bit deceptive when it comes to Ornn, and Not the Real Philip was definitely feeling it right there. Only item picked up was the Glacial Shroud at the time of that fight, and it's definitely paying off as he's able to get that solo kill, get the recall. Now he has 2 biscuits in the pocket as well as a filled up potion, so he's liking life right now. He definitely is.
We traded for this Ocean Dragon on the side of the map. Whenever something happens on one side, you gotta match it with something on the opposite side. And Infectrix not in a position where he could actually contest, and the level 6 gonna start paying attention to where he wants to go on the map. He's a great delivery tool for the Kale ultimate. Get that invulnerability matched up with the burst of damage coming out a little bit later on. I'm kind of expecting it to go there simply because it's one of the places where you can very easily get on a very immobile mage.
Man, the directed cam really likes bot lane today. We're just watching this. Just watching all kinds of bot lane. 10 CS differential is now starting to shrink. So Youngbin, he's coming back. He's coming back.
He's gonna have a way to get back in. Ooh, there we go. Thank you, Mr. Directed Camera, for giving us all of this fancy different angles. Wow,
sorry,
look at those
Joe.
shadows.
Sorry,
I didn't
Joe.
realize that they had shadows in this game. Pretty impressive. As we return to your pre-planned programming. But this game, honestly, the fact that it's not breaking currently in favor of Lucky Crunkers says to me that it is currently in favor of First Blood Crusade simply because of how many scaling tools are available to them. They have the Ornn, who's going to be giving them multiple thousands of extra stats worth of gold as we start getting later onto the game. You have a Kale scaling up, and you have this Caitlyn, who is at the weakest point in the game, and Lucky Crunkers takes advantage by picking up this Rift Herald, but they need to make sure they can get this gold lead to start ballooning sooner than later. Otherwise, they're just going to lose on the fact that their champions are all about the early and mid game.
Man, this cam is really stuck in the top lane. Okay, don't kill me, please. Anyway. Yeah, getting to this game a little bit more. Ace in the hole is going to go out, and there comes that harassment that Youngbin likes to do once he hits that level 6 point. But the big thing we're going to be watching out for now is the paranoia. Infectrix does have it available. He is at that level 7 point, so keep a close eye on his next gank.
And I'm kind of looking at the mid lane. Maybe they can try and set up a dive in the bottom lane if they end up working together. It's simply because Ken has been paying so much attention to the bottom half of the map this far. He's gone for 3 ganks, and here's a 4th one coming out as the double pink ward comes down. Youngbin getting some good damage onto his opponent, and Infectrix is already here.
Yeah, Tomo not looking too good for wear at the moment. Infectrix waiting with that paranoia. Doesn't have to get close. Might be the gank right now. Ken V1 setting up in this bush. Will get spotted out by the sweeping ward. This tension, you can cut it with a knife right now. Ken V1 just stalling out as long as he can, but finally getting spotted out with the ward. Starting to go forward now, and Fetrix still staying in that bush. Ken V1 might walk into the boogeyman, and now showing up. And Fetrix sees that paranoia towards the bot lane, able to take down Brandon Choi as he gets a snare on the back end. Onto Kim down, but Kim does not care. They got the kill, and they got out. But still more fights breaking out. Tibbs now going straight after Not the Real Philip, will not find the Call to Forge God knockup. Not the Real Philip will be able to walk away, but the fight continues in the bot lane, able to get the root. Dark Binding on Ken V1. Ken V1 critically low, falls to Kim down, and there comes the Piltover Peacemaker. Featherstorm able to find the dodge, but still the kills keep racking in for the First Blood Crusaders.
Wow, it felt like that Ken was trying to bamboozle their opponents, but he was the one getting bamboozled. We're fighting in the mid lane, but should be able to disengage here in just a moment. Ken trying to stick around, jump onto the low AD carry, but Vectrix thinking one step ahead, knew that he didn't see his opponent back away, and going to allow his teammates to get yet another kill and potentially crash yet another wave as the gold lead, not the gold lead, but the CS lead is completely nullified between these two AD carries.
And this is going to get so scary now because it's something you said earlier, Joshi. The scaling is on the side of the First Blood Crusaders. And if they're getting a lead early in the game, we should expect to see shades of game number 1. It's not the case just yet, as Lucky Crunkers are setting up a siege in the bot side, looking to grab another plate.
Yeah, Youngman actually moving very aggressively forward. Infectrix is here, but he doesn't have access to his ultimate. And I'm not sure if this is a fight that Youngman necessarily wants to take, but here's Kim down.
Yeah, still going forward with it. The Dark Binding Flash is going to whiff, but here comes the teleport. Kim down on the run, and now the hunter, now the hunted. Infectrix falls during the teleport, but the pressure is now on the spot lane.
Flashing and missing with the binding just means Kim down doesn't have anything left to contribute to the fight. Infectrix runs in, and his ultimate is up now, but not going to be able to get anything off of it as they have to run away. Flash forward.
Good luck getting away from the snake. Caught within her grasp. Always plan ahead. Will grab that kill, but the fight continuing over in the top side. Repel into the air as Call the Forge God goes out. It's going to be Rene who picks up that kill, but it's a bloodbath of a match as we hit the 14-minute mark.
Yeah, 2,000 gold leads starting to come up for Lucky Crunkers. This is what they needed to do. They need to get these small leads, and they should be able to get this turret first as well as they extend their lead once again. And it looks like they're going to get themselves a second Ocean Dragon in addition. Infectrix just goes in.
Here we go. The Paranoia going to be used as well as the Ace in the hole, getting some of that damage on the backside, but only knocks him to about half health. Now check out this Elise running with her Spiderling. She just came out of the shop as the fight continues over in the bot lane. Brandon Choi will fall to Rene. Rene trying to survive now, doesn't have the intervention, drops. Always plan ahead, gets that kill, but gets punished by the shot of Youngbin. Still trade for trade for trade for trade as Not the Real Philip falls to Infectrix. It's actually Infectrix who grabs that kill.
So many people are running down to the bottom lane, and a little bit surprising that so many people were trying to come down here. Infectrix not able to burst out his opponent. It's a Zaya. It's hard to do even without the ultimate. But Rene coming around, using the teleport, getting behind, not quite getting the damage off immediately either. And then when this turns into a brawl, Both sides really have opportunities to strut their stuff a little bit, but no ultimate for the kill. It means that they end up just going down to the increased damage. And Infectrix, not sure how far he was willing to chase, but apparently it was a little bit too far, as not the real Philip showing up without getting spotted through the fog of war.
So this is a match right here. It does look like we're gonna have a series in our hands, because now Lucky Crunkers are starting to bring it. They do have a gold lead, about 2k in the lead. But remember, it's still scaling composition coming out of the First Blood Crusader. So if Crunkers are going to find their win, they have to keep pushing this advantage.
They do. They picked up a second Ocean Dragon, not necessarily the most effective thing coming into this game, because they don't necessarily siege super effectively. They've got a bunch of range champions, so whenever they do get a wave up into their opponent's grill, they're going to be able to do plenty of damage with it. But the problem is actually getting there. There's enough wave clear between the Nocturne, Philin, and Morgana to allow them to continue to keep these waves at bay. And now picking up these early couple of turrets, but without taking down the mid lane one, it's going to be giving this Kale an opportunity to potentially free farm. As you see, you just got a lane freezing down here on the bottom side.
Yeah, and that mid lane turret is still very, very healthy. It's going to take a hell of a siege to be able to take it down, and Youngbin as well as Kim Down are here to try and defend it. But now Lucky Crunkers are starting to shift their momentum towards the mid lane. You're starting to see the Elise as well as the Jace in this area, but here breaks out a fight, and down goes Brandon Choi as they try and set up for a siege. First Blood Crusaders are able to make them pay for it.
Another ace in the hole coming out for Youngbin, going to be locking down that target. That's going to slow things down quite a bit for the side of Lucky Crunkers. They are looking to bring all of their members. In fact, the only people who aren't here are their mid laner, Always Plan Ahead, who's currently in the bottom lane, and the support that just died. That's giving plenty of time for First Blood Crusade to bring everybody here to try and defend things. Renee can't afford to take fights just quite yet. Does have the Hextech Gunblade, so he's getting more powerful, but still a ways away from being able to fight this Cassiopeia.
Yeah, Always Plan Ahead, just trying to make sure that the lane will not be frozen deep behind enemy lines, and just trying to make sure Renee continues pushing forward, knowing that the pressure of the snake is always around the corner. But First Blood Crusaders, they've been on the back foot for the most of this game. You can see they are trying to get some vision, but they haven't really got it deep enough. It's mostly towards the Baron side of the jungle where they have those control wards. And it's definitely going to help them a lot, because the momentum is over to Crunkers, but it needs to go deeper and deeper when you want to start figuring out more macro plays.
Gotta keep doing that. You see the vision toggle coming through. They are doing a very similar thing to what their opponents did in game one, as they lock down a lot of this vision in the bottom quadrant. It's going to allow Always Plan Ahead to continue to move forward, and with these big pick tools, they got the what is effectively a point and click stun if you're moving into the fog of war. It's so difficult for anybody on First Blood Crusade to come in and try and contest this, but multiple people running in.
Going straight after Youngbin. Youngbin is annihilated. Now comes the Paranoia. Able to get one revenge kill on the Ken V1, but Kim Down is starting to run critically low. One more auto would be able to finish him off, and that is what goes through as Tomo takes down Kim Down. Renee on the run. It's going to be a 2-for-1 exchange in favor of Lucky Crunkers.
Not committing the Divine Judgment just means that they end up giving over another kill. Kim Down, not sure if his flash was quite available, but definitely didn't receive any favors from his mid laner there. Ends up giving over a little bit more than they would like. Now Tibbs going to be allowing his opponent to back away. Should be able to finish the Yuma's Ghostblade. There it is. And with the fact that Youngbin just walking into the Fog of War in an unsafe place, going to mean that this mid lane turret going to be taking a ton of damage. Both Brandon Choi and Tomo, with knowing exactly where their opposing jungler is because he's in their face, going to be able to do a lot of damage, bring it down to half HP.
And I mean, Joshi, the longer this turret stays up, the less time Lucky Crunkers really have to play their game plan. They need that down so they can start getting the forward momentum and forward vision, but First Blood Crusaders, they want to stall out this game. They want to get to the late game.
Good, yeah. I mean, picking up this Infernal is going to be helping out quite a bit. They want to be able to at least match the scaling from their opponents, and giving all the extra AD and AP later on is going to be very helpful, and getting another Infernal Dragon in the role should help them even more. You got the fire and the water in order to make sure these sieges are very, very impactful. So Lucky Crunkers really living up to their name right now, as they're getting plenty of opportunities to try and nullify anything coming out from the First Blood Crusade. But this game's still far from over, only a 3,000 gold lead.
The First Blood Crusade are still getting that Baron side vision. That's one of the big things, especially now that Baron has spawned just now on the map. Having all that Baron side control is definitely a breath of fresh air, knowing that you don't have to walk into what could potentially be a trap out of Lucky Crunkers. And that's going to be the next objective for Lucky Crunkers, meanwhile. Not the bottom side of this map, but setting up those vision baits around the Baron.
Yeah, all of the vision they've invested in the bottom side means it's not invested in the top side. There's already 3 control wards coming out from Lucky Crunkers in the bottom half of the map, and that, just as you said, it's nowhere near the Baron. Not necessarily going to be doing them a whole lot of good, because the First Blood Crusade doesn't really care about moving to the bottom half of the map all that much. They would like to farm it, yes, but when all is said and done, they just need to continue dragging this game out. As long as they can keep this turret up, they're safe to keep on doing that. Youngmin going for a gank?
He's going for a gank on the top side. The knockup does go through, but the flash over the wall, not the real Philip. On the run, tees up, but it's not going to be enough because the shutdown will go over to Youngbin. But this buys enough time for Lucky Crunkers to finally get the Jewel of the Rift and take down that mid lane turret.
That was a lot of resources used. Call the Forge God.
Yeah, it's only going to find one, and that is the isolated member, Brandon Choi, but the fight continues as Renee tries to find one on the back line. Flashing away, will survive. The rappel into the air. It's going to be a double kill for Renee, who survives by the skin of his teeth, able to splat the bug. Here comes another knockup. Tibbs surviving as well, but a double kill will go over to the always plan ahead, but here comes the cavalry, and down goes the snake, but not before claiming 3 in a very, very desperate situation.
Triple kill going over. This is a total disaster for the red side of the map as they try and move in and get some damage onto the turret, but immediately get engaged upon. Look at how many people are trying to dive onto Kale, and the Divine Judgment buying so much time, doing so much damage across the entire map, and the execute damage coming up from Rainy being just enough to lock down the last member. And he actually survives with the 2 procs of the Triumph coming through. Luckily, they saved the fight a little bit. They're not going to be giving over the Baron because too many members die. Trying to find this fight up against Always Plan Ahead. He takes down 3 members, finds a triple kill. But evening up the gold so much. Almost a quadra. It was so close. Cassiopeia is still a monster at this point in the game.
Yeah, no kidding. No boots means more AP, and that's what we're getting from Always Plan Ahead, who's able to pump in that damage and make sure that Lucky Crunkers stay effective in this match, even in a team fight where they seemed to be behind. But now with all outer turrets down, First Blood Crusade, they need to be able to claim an outer turret of their own, and they haven't been able to push past the midway point of this map.
It'll be a while before they can. They do have the Molten Edge coming through. Again, the only Orden item that I know off the top of my head. Actually, no, the Frozen Fist is the upgraded Iceborne Gauntlet. That's going to be giving a lot of damage over, trying to get Caitlyn out of that power trough. We get the massive view coming out from all of the map, and you see that everybody, Lucky Crunkers, moving to the bottom half of the map, trying to find a catch. A little bit interesting. No pressure around this Baron. They just want this blue buff.
Ooh, but look at this.
Whoa,
here.
big fight.
Dark Binding, and here comes Call of the Forge God. You want to take down the Cassiopeia, and that is what is claimed. Now going forward is First Blood Crusaders. They have some momentum working for them now that they've taken down one of the main carries of Lucky Crunker's team.
I'm a bit surprised that that fight is happening at all. Why are there 10 members on the bottom side of the map when the Baron is still available? Both teams have team compositions that can take it down relatively quickly. And with both of them investing all of their vision at the bottom side, get these weird fights in corridors, which have been going in First Blood Crusade's favor over and over again. Oh, he catches him.
Gets the root. Youngbin starting to run a little bit low, but here comes Kim down. Dark Binding will not land onto Brandon Choi, as Brandon Choi is now being the aggressor here, throwing out the Qs with the mantra. Not the real Philip, waiting for someone to just get low enough, but another Dark Binding onto not the real Philip, and here comes to the backside. Kevin via 1 will claim 1, will claim 2, going after Infectrix, but he's under the tower, doesn't have repel. Will not get hit by another shot of the tower. Instead, Lucky Crunkers, they're able to keep all 5 alive and take down the bot lane of the First Blood Crusaders. On top of that, Infernal Drake will be up in 10 seconds.
It's such a weird priority between these two teams. Yeah, fight goes down here, Kim down comes around, but they know their opponents have been investing so much time here into the bottom side of the map. They know that teleports are available, and as they come around, they end up just sticking around for so long that Ken has an opportunity to run around behind them and get this beautiful stun down onto Youngbin, meaning there's no way for him to escape. And the other weird thing to me is that the priority after they pick up these 2 kills with the timer on the clock, they're not going for the Baron, they're going for the Infernal Dragon. Getting a little bit of extra damage and trying to match the scaling, I feel is like, you know, only doing a little bit to stop the growth of the First Blood Crusade. Because they're the ones who are going to still be alright when this game starts coming in late, as another, there's only a Paradox going to be the name of the upgraded Hourglass here for Kim Down. Need to go aggressive in the middle lane, trying to establish priority so that they can move over towards the Baron.
Yeah, they really do need to start getting that Baron vision. The time for bot lane vision is now over. The Infernal has gone down. In another 3 minutes, he can set it up again to try and get that triple Infernal, but now the priority must be Baron, and that is what Lucky Crunkers are doing right now. Putting down those control wards, getting deep vision into the jungle of the First Blood Crusaders, and this is such a threat now because you're always walking towards those bushes thinking a snake might be hiding in it.
And that's why you saw Infectrix going with the Spell Shield as he's just clearing out the ward, just wants to make sure he doesn't get caught by anything on the other side of the wall. Now, members of First Blood Crusade got to be a little bit careful. Infectrix actually going for a Spear of Shojins, which will allow him to burst out people a little bit more effectively, but losing out on a lot of potential tank stats simply because he doesn't have the Black Cleaver, nor... Whoa, Tomo! Crazy.
That would have been a little bit spooky right there, but there it is. The Dark Mighty does go through. They're going to go straight on to Tomo. Tomo is deleted, but they're able to stop the call. The Forge God Tibbs goes forward, looking to find the repelled Ken V1, but he shall walk away. And First Blood Crusaders, they're able to sneak a kill once and get away. It does look like they'll be able to do it again as they set up a siege in the mid lane. They're going to claim a tower. One of the outer towers is all that remains for Lucky Crunker's team. But it's been a very slow-played game for the First Blood Crusaders as they try and rack up these objectives, being chased off by Lucky Crunkers.
Yeah, Kim Down, he's been having trouble with some of his bindings earlier this game, but is now starting to land them over and over. And finding one onto Tomo, not allowing him to flash out, just means that he gets burst out so quickly by all the focus damage coming out from First Blood Crusade. But with the rest of the members alive and the teleport available, they're going right onto the Baron, and it looks like First Blood Crusade knows about this. They're bringing everyone to bear as well.
Oh, they're taking it down quite quickly. Kim Down is there, but he's critically low. 5,000 health remains on the Baron as Kim Down tries to look for that Dark Binding. He will not be able to find it. Tomo is able to get away from the knockup in time, and Tibbs is going to be paying for it. He's running low, but it's Infectrix who goes after Tomo in the back lane. Able to get 1 kill, able to get 2. Look at this backline from the First Blood Crusaders do work. Youngbin and Renee able to rack in some kills, but at the cost of the jungle in top lane. A hell of a fight from these two teams.
And the fact that this was as even as it was is actually amazing. Take a look at all the ultimate cooldowns that are not available for the side of the blue team. They're the ones who are so reliant on all of these big R buttons. They don't have the Divine Judgment. They don't have the Call of the Forge God. But because all their opponents are trapped and taking all of this AoE damage, they get bursted out so quickly by the prolonged auto attacks coming out from both Arena and Youngbin. By the time that the 2v3 on the far side, on the top side of the fight is over, it's already been won for the First Blood crew on the other side.
First Blood Crusaders, they're feeling great right now. They were behind, and they're closing in on that gold lead. The one thing right now that's superficially inflating it is those Infernal Drakes, and Infernal's going to have to be claimed quite soon out of First Blood Crusaders. I thought the next Drake was Infernal, but no, it's going to be Ocean, and that would be Triple Ocean Drake, which is definitely not anything to scoff at as well.
Yeah, Kim Down going very far forward at the moment, trying to establish a little bit of vision for themselves. Oh, so is Brandon. All right, just going to get a little bit of wards and walk right on out of there. And maybe a little bit of a heart attack, as both these supports get blown up super quickly if they get spotted out by any of the aggressive players on the other team. The Duskblade has already come out for a real Phillip. And of course, Infectrix going to have an incredibly quick ultimate cooldown every single time he wants to use it.
Okay, is it Infernal or Ocean? Is the spectator client playing with us again? Because I see the Infernal mark. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Alright,
next
so just
Drake
a
is Ocean,
confirmation.
so it's going to be no triple. Actually, here comes the Paranoia. It's being used. I believe they're
bot
trying to
lane.
use the bot lane to catch not the real Phillip, but that's going to be a waste of
Haha,
Paranoia.
it was a trick. It wasn't the real Phillip anyway.
Here's Yoshi.
Alright. Yeah, Ocean coming up, a triple Ocean. Nice to have, but not
Oh my
super
God.
super impactful in this kind of game.
Joe, come
because
on.
Neither side is really looking to pick up
Joe.
a whole lot of sieging.
That
Poor
replay was so
Infectrix.
cruel. Oh man. Infectress has been playing well this series so far. Come on, one hiccup and he gets put in the spotlight.
Ha ha ha. No mercy.
No
Gotta play
mercy
perfectly.
indeed, and that's Triple Ocean Drake, and that's going to be a lot of regen going over to Lucky Crunker's team. Fortunately for First Blood Crusaders, they are a kind of front-loaded team who looks to just put the damage in right away. They aren't looking for too much poke unless you do have the Caitlyn. It kind of counts as a poke with the ace in the hole, but most of the fights are going to be just auto away. And it's a silver lining towards going against Ocean Drake composition.
Yeah, it'll be helpful. Ocean Dragon, again, doesn't do anything in the middle of a combat as Youngbin going very far forward. Always plan ahead, and Ken are the only ones here as instantly going on.
Here comes the call of the Forge God. They are going to get the knockup on the Ken V1, who uses the repel to jump into the air, but only one to drop on would be an enemy. That's exactly what happened. Youngbin will get the kill onto Ken V1, and now First Blood Crusaders are marching towards the base for the first time in a long time of Lucky Crunker's team.
Yeah, they saw all the members. They saw Jason the bot lane. They saw the bottom lane on the other side, and now going to be losing a turret because of it. This is while they're the ones who have the Baron buff. Actually, it's expired at this point. But the Baron power play that you normally expect has completely been wiped out as First Blood Crusade, all of their ultimates, or their big ultimates down, have to walk away. And as soon as I say that, they walk right on back.
Ooh, and there comes the Dark Binding. Get a closer look at this fight. As the Petrifying Gaze does go out, you're able to get a triple Petrify to go through, but always plan ahead. Steel goes down. Tibbs now trying to survive the autos from Tomo. Tomo will be able to take him down, but a kill gets returned in the form of not the real Philip, and now the real siege begins. All the major carries are still up. Renee and Youngbin are feeling great as they march towards the base of Lucky Crunker's team,
it's done.
but there comes the Cocoon, able to get the lockdown, and there is the Divine Judgment. Renee able to stay alive despite being underneath the tower. There is the Mantra Q, but one more auto goes through, and Youngbin is able to claim the kill onto Brandon Choi, and now the base is being destroyed. Lucky Crunkers, their luck has completely turned upside down.
This could potentially be the end of the game. You only have 2 members alive for 10 more seconds. The Cassiopeia is coming through. This should be at least double Nexus turrets. We'll see if Tomo can make it.
Oh, here we go.
Whoa.
The fight or flight moment. Ken V1's trying to go forward, trying to defend the ADC, but a rampage coming out of Youngbin as he falls for the cause. 3 members still alive. Remember what Cassiopeia did before. This might be the case again. Always plan ahead. Has the damage to be able to defend this, but here comes the teleport. Looking to focus down onto this Nexus. The knockout does go through from Tibbs, but Tibbs is now on the run, and the Nexus does not go down. The rush, not going to be worth it. Lucky Crunker is able to stay alive.
Okay, what did they lose? They still have 30 seconds left before Youngbin comes alive, but there's not enough teleports to potentially do anything. 20 seconds still on Tomo. Not the real Philip, and always plan ahead. Always going to be the only ones who can actually do anything with this. They've already lost everything but their Nexus in the middle lane. They could be able to get at least 1 inhibitor down with this, but they don't have the minion waves to get anything else beyond that. Baron. They're going to get Baron control. They're going to be able to pick up this top lane inhibitor, but not going to be the most impactful thing in the world. Wait, are they actually trying to end the game? They're going with the teleport. Tomo's here. Everybody's coming back up from First Blood Crusade.
This is unbelievably risky. Youngbin, if he does go down, this could be the end right here. The turrets are starting to get low now, but the minion wave is not there. There was a little bit of delayed time, but here comes the Paradigm looking to go forward. They're making the same mistake that we saw earlier from the First Blood Crusade as Lucky Crunkers are absolutely annihilated.
Everybody just completely dies. It's such a risky move. Now they have 1 shot left. Can you be the hero? Can you make your way? Oh, he doesn't get spotted. He doesn't get spotted. There he is. They know exactly where he is.
Now there comes the Dark Binding. Call the Forge God. More of a contingency plan, but going golden is Ken V1. It's Ken V3 as he falls to Infectrix, and the rest of the squad, they're in the base. They're knocking on the door of Lucky Crunker's team, and they're going to be able to continue and destroy the undefeated streak of the Lucky Crunker squad as they make their way over to playoffs.
Yeah, you see here Renee just going around trying to have a little bit of fun as the game ends, but Youngbin all business all the time. Or as he slows down just a little bit, but wow, what a turnaround of a game. What a crazy sequence of events. I wasn't sure. I didn't think they could end the game, but they thought they could, and it ends up costing them everything.
Oh yeah, that was just domination. We talked about it. Their composition over on First Blood Crusade, it scales. It scales well. And if you want to know how well, 12-4-12 on Youngbin at the end of this match. That's absolute domination.
Yeah, this is what we're talking about, right? Week 5, they only have one more week to start picking up a couple of games and knocking down the first place a peg. Gonna help them out quite a bit. They have one more opportunity next week to try and pick up a couple more wins for this team. First Blood are going to be playing up against North Carolina Junior Varsity, who have been struggling so far during this run, so they should be able to pick up another win. But their opponents, Lucky Crunkers, gonna have another opportunity to go up against G7, another 2-2 team.
Yeah, so definitely hype matches coming up next week. That is for sure, which next week is going to be the final week of the regular season, so all teams are going to be giving it their all. But that's going to do it for here on the cast right now, unless you have any closing statements, Joshi.
No, it's been a pleasure, everyone. Thank you for coming out to the Risen Esports, even though it might not have been the teams you were expecting to see play today. Congratulations to our winners, and looking forward to doing a little bit more as we start to get towards the end of Season 7. Make sure you tune in, because we got playoffs coming up in just 2 weeks.
Yeah,
Yeah,
hey,
so
hey, I gotta say, that was a pretty hype match. Hey, blue screen, bro. We gotta switch to the backup feed. Well, PC blue screened. Alright,
Whoa,
anyway.
there you go.
What's up,
Good
guys? What's up?
production.
Yeah.
Hey, little NA out here. Gotta
Oh,
say,
yeah.
these NA casters, sorry, affecting my production.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, we
It just
told
comes with the
T21 to go for
territory.
that forfeit. But that's going to do it for here on the desk. My name's Eric Desworks Patron. You have Joshua Joshi Howard right here. And of course, Joe Physics. Love you so much for your production,
Hey,
even
what
though
up?
we definitely had a rough time. Thank you guys for joining us. Be sure to tune in next time for more Risen Esports.
Hey, good stuff, guys. Hold on, I gotta
Yeah.
get my broadcast back online. I want to play an outro. Hold on, I'm looking for my music right now. That stream. Okay. Sorry, very NA out here.
NA production.
Hey, little K Koner, brother. All right, and I gotta like reset this. Question mark? Question mark? Hey, it worked. All right, so
Yay.
now I fade to this, and I roll intro. All right, see you guys.
All right.
Bye bye. Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.